long before Europe's colonial reach carved borders into the soul of Africa. There was a storm rising in the south, a name whispered with awe, with fear, and with fury. Shaka Zulu. To some, he was the greatest military mind Africa ever produced, a unifier, a strategist, a nation builder. To others, he was a tyrant, ruthless, paranoid, and cruel. How does a child born from rejection become the founder of one of Africa's most feared and respected empires? How does a man raise a kingdom on the blade of a spear, only to fall to betrayal by blood? History is rarely kind, but in Shaka's case, it may also be incomplete. This is not just the story of a man. It's the story of Africa's resistance, its resilience, and the complicated legacies of its kings. To understand Shaka's rise, we must return to his beginning, a beginning steeped in shame, hardship, and survival. A kingdom was not given to him. He carved it with sweat, fire, and fear. He turned warriors into armies. He turned tribes into a nation. But was his vision of unity worth the rivers of blood he spilled? Or was he simply a product of a brutal time, facing enemies from within and beyond? Shaka Zulu was born in 1787, not into royalty, but into rejection. His father, Nzinga, was a Zulu chief. His mother, Nandi, a woman of the Alangene clan. Their union was frowned upon, their child unwelcome. Banished from the royal court, Nandi fled with her son. They wandered from clan to clan, often humiliated, sometimes starved. Shaka grew not in comfort, but in hardship. They mocked him, beat him, called him Umfin, wild monkey. But inside Shaka, a fire was building. He learned early that power was taken, never given. That survival meant transformation. As a teenager, Shaka entered military service under the great chieftain, Dingiswayo of the Mtetwa people. Dingiswayo saw in Shaka something others missed. A mind made for war, a heart forged in fire. Here, Shaka reimagined war. He discarded the long-throwing spear, the assegai, and invented the iglo, a short stabbing spear for close combat, brutal, personal, meant for killing, not threatening. He tightened ranks, taught discipline, and enforced ruthless unity. He didn't just build warriors, he built war machines. Dingiswayo gave him command. Shaka delivered victory. By the time Shaka's father died, he was no longer the outcast. He was the storm. And in 1816, after his half-brother was swiftly removed, Shaka seized the throne of the Zulu people. From exile to emperor, the birth of a king had begun, but it was only the beginning of what would become. A reign written in blood, brilliance, and betrayal. 1816, a new sun rises over KwaZulu-Natal. The child who once walked in shame now marches in glory. Shaka Zulu is king. But for Shaka, being king wasn't enough. He didn't just want to rule, he wanted to reshape Africa. Under Shaka's command, the Zulu nation exploded in size. One by one, neighboring clans fell, not only to Zulu spears, but to a new form of military genius. Shaka transformed tribal combat into a science. He designed the legendary bull horn formation. The chest engaged the enemy head-on. The horns flanked from both sides. The loins, held in reserve, delivered the final blow. No mercy, no retreat. Victory was survival. Defeat was extinction. Shaka's warriors were more than soldiers. They were his shadow. They walked barefoot over thorns, ran 50 miles in a day, slept with their spears beside them. And Shaka ruled with iron will. He banned marriage for soldiers, executed deserters without hesitation. Loyalty wasn't optional, it was enforced. As the Zulu expanded, some called it unification, others called it terror. Entire clans vanished, absorbed, or destroyed. This time of upheaval would later be called the Mafeking, the crushing. Across southern Africa, fear spread. Waves of migration followed. New kingdoms rose, like the Satho, Swazi, and Ndebele, all shaped by the shockwaves of Zulu might. Was Shaka building a nation, or burning down others to forge his own? To his people, he was a visionary. To his enemies, a tyrant cloaked in black brilliance. But power, once seized, is never safe. And in the shadows of Shaka's glory, jealousy, fear, and betrayal were beginning to whisper. The seeds of his downfall had already been sown. Absolute power burns brightest just before it consumes itself. By 1824, Shaka Zulu stood alone at the summit of southern Africa. But the summit is cold, and the air thin with paranoia. His power was unmatched, but so was his suspicion. He trusted few, loved none. Then tragedy struck. Queen Nondi, Shaka's mother, died. She was more than a mother. She was his anchor, and the only person he ever showed tenderness to. Her death shattered him, and in that madness, he unleashed one of the darkest chapters in Zulu history. Shaka commanded the entire kingdom to mourn. No milk, no harvest, no joy. Over 7,000 people were executed for mourning incorrectly. Pregnant women were slaughtered. New crops destroyed. It was grief turned to horror. Shaka became unstable. The land trembled beneath his rage. What he had built with brilliance, he now ruled with blood. Opposition grew quietly. Brothers began to conspire. The empire he forged with fire would soon face betrayal from within. Among those plotting were his half-brothers, Nzinga and Mangana. But Shaka did not see it. Or perhaps he refused to. The lion had roared too long, and the jackals were circling. In every empire born by the spear, the blade eventually turns inward. Whispers of rebellion echoed through the kraals. Shaka's paranoia had turned his allies into enemies, and his brothers, Nzinga and Mangana, saw their chance. Shaka alone. It happened in 1828. Quiet, swift, brutal. then silence. Shaka was lured into the shadows, a place where warriors waited not to salute, but to strike. The great Shaka Zulu, murdered by his own blood. No funeral songs, no monuments, just silence. The tyrant was gone, the visionary silenced. His death marked the beginning of internal decline. Nzinga seized the throne, but he lacked his brother's genius. The empire Shaka built with courage and cruelty began to crumble. And from the ashes of one empire, another arrived, the British, the Boers, the colonizers. The death of Shaka Zulu removed the only barrier strong enough to hold for an ambition. In less than a generation, colonial powers would divide Africa, piece by piece. Shaka's legacy was buried beneath conquest and rewritten by those who feared him most. History remembers its titans in fragments, some carved in stone, others in scars. Shaka, Nzinga, was no mere king. He was a force of nature, one who bent time and tribe into something new, a nation. He revolutionized warfare, but he also revolutionized governance, centralized leadership, taxation, discipline. Shaka laid the framework for what would one day be called the Zulu Kingdom. To the west, he was a tyrant, a black Napoleon, a savage to be feared and erased. But to his people, to the land that still whispers his name in the wind, he was a Shaka, the founder, the unifier, the spirit of resistance. Today, the Zulu nation stands strong. Its language, music, customs, all trace lines back to the spear of one man. From the hills of Bulawayo to the Parliament of South Africa, the shadow of Shaka still walks. Was he a tyrant, or a visionary, or was he the price Africa had to pay to remain unconquered for one more breath? This was Shaka Zulu, visionary, tyrant, king, legend. And here's Ancestral Files, where we uncover the untold stories of Africa. Subscribe.